Thank you, P.S. Thomas. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, members of the media, Honorable Minister for Commerce, Honorable Rosalind Paul. The application process, do we have one we could highlight it on the screen? Okay, all right. I have mine, but it would have been nice if it would have been highlighted on the screen. Okay. Because that's it. Maybe the camera could show. We're on page 1. It's possible to split the screen, and whilst we're speaking, persons would visualize. Okay, it would have to be set up before. Okay, all right. Okay. We'll just walk through it. But before we walk through it, though, I'd just like to thank the Ministry of Commerce and the World Bank for the efforts at institutional strengthening, that enabled us to be able to be in your presence this morning, so that persons would be able to receive the necessary benefits that they've been looking forward to for some time. The application form has a number of questions and requirements that persons must fulfill. Of course, your title, your name and surname, your date of birth, and in the filling out of the application form, you put the month first, the day that you were born, and the year. Your nationality. There are 3 options for ID type and number: Dominica Social Security number, passport number, or your driver's license. Any one of them would suffice. Your street address, the city or the community that you reside. Your parish is very important, because when we'll be assessing how diverse the applications came from the various communities, the parish will also be able to give us the opportunity to be able to get some statistics and see the areas that were driven with more entrepreneurs, those that probably decided they didn't want to go into that business or want to apply. Your telephone number, we have 4 options: 1 landline and 3 mobile numbers that you could put in. Your banking information is also important, where the name of the bank, not only does you put the National Bank or the Royal Bank, but you also indicate the name of your credit union. But also very important is the account number. I repeat that, the account number. Please, not your ATM debit card number. I've been noticing that in recent times, where persons put in their debit card number. Your debit card number is not necessarily your account number. So if the check has to be deposited to your account, we would need the account number. The business ownership structure. Is it a sole trader? If you are the only person that own that business, that would be an example of a sole trader. Is it a partnership where you and someone else own that business? Or is it a company where you have actually gone and incorporated that business? Or is it a cooperative? For example, the Bay Oil Cooperative, the Newtown Fisheries Cooperative, or the Home Industries Cooperative, by way of examples. The business status, we would want to know, is it a new business or an existing business? And the date the business was opened, the month, the day, the year. And of course, the type of enterprise. Is it a micro enterprise, a small or a medium enterprise? And that question would refer to the number of persons employed. Between 1 to 5 employees would be classified as a micro enterprise. 6 to 20 employees will be classified as a small business enterprise, and 21 employees and above would be classified as a medium enterprise. Your tax number, and we'd like persons to get into the habit of that. Persons usually tend to have a phobia or want to shy away. Your personal income tax number or your business tax number. Those are important, okay? And is your business registered with the Company and Intellectual Property Office? You must have that small business or that micro business registered with the Companies and Intellectual Property Office. It's absolutely important. And why that is important? The government of Dominica, through the Ministry of Commerce, we are currently more than 80% at an advanced stage with our small business policy, and pretty much the same standard with our small business legislation. So in future disasters, God forbid, a lot of the things that we're doing now, our institution would have been strengthened to such an extent that a number of things would then be automatic. You are a registered business, you're incorporated, you have your tax account number, the regime of incentives that would be detailed in the small business policy as well as the small business legislation, that would speed up the process substantially to get persons to get back on their feet a lot faster. So today we are not only building back better physical structures, but we are strengthening our institutions to ensure that micro, small, and even medium enterprises can bounce back way a lot faster and prosper. Your business category, you would tick whether you're a retail trade and service, a food and beverage, manufacturing and agro-processing, or you're in construction. Now, is your business insured? This is a measurement of one's level of, say, the ability to have grown the business over the years. And those that have just started, they're just budding businesses. And those that we're targeting, the 1,500, is really the budding business that have just started and not yet been insured. So if you're a taxi or bus operator, you would not be able to apply and receive any benefits under this program because your vehicle or the bus would have been insured. So you'd have to seek a claim for your insurance company to repair your bus in that case, or your taxi. There are other questions that we're looking at. Did you complete the survey of damage and losses in commercial and the manufacturing organization? You must answer yes on this for this question, and you must have completed this form. If I may hold it up, it's the damage and loss assessment that we did almost 2-3 weeks thereafter the hurricane with the UNDP personnel. Okay, and that detailed, it's a 4-page form. It detailed for persons what it is that happened to their business. There were a number of questions. Did you suffer damage? If yes, what way the business was affected? Was it damage to premises, damage to equipment / machinery, damage to finished products, shortage of labor, shortage or lack of electricity, lack of water, lack of raw materials, productivity decline, stoppage of operations, damage decline for products, and others that you would require to specify. So you would have had to complete that form. Okay? This is also included in the Ministry / World Bank's database because it's going to be audited. So what it is that was said here, you're going to have to be consistent when you now use the application form. So if, for example, if you said you sustained $10,000 worth of loss, you cannot now come and say you suffered $100,000 worth of loss. You would have to, of course, if it was an estimate at the time or a rough calculation, you would have to produce the evidence so that it could substantiate your declaration. Indicates, as we just spoke here, of the damage sustained. I highlighted it here. And there's another question. Highlight the losses suffered and give estimates. The losses suffered. What was your level of sales or your average revenue before the hurricane? What level of sales you have now, if any, post the hurricane? So if you don't have anything right now after Hurricane Maria, it means in terms of revenue sales, right? It means you would have suffered 100% loss of business. You would have had the business damaged, yes. So there's a distinction between the damage the equipment broken and flooded and that sort of thing, and the losses, because some people could have the equipment been damaged, but they would have had probably stock and possibly could have sold that finished goods. Okay? But if you have lost everything in terms of not able to sell anything, then the calculations would be able to show that you suffered 100% loss. So we're asking persons to highlight that for us. And of course, there's another question. How soon will you restart your business if given financial assistance? Would it be within 1 week, 1 month, 2 months? I hope nobody says, I don't know. How was your business previously financed? Were you a young individual that got grants from the, not a grant, but a loan guarantee from the Dominica Youth Business Trust? Did you receive a grant previously from the government of Dominica? Or did you get a loan from your credit union or the National Development Foundation or even the Aid Bank? And then, of course, there's the other option of highlighting other, maybe for family, for friends, accumulated savings. You would want you to highlight that for us. And seeing that we don't have the skin splitted, the funding requirements, you would list for us and itemize the equipment and whatever it is that you need to restart the business in the very short term. The most critical things and the costs associated with that. So we'd expect you to pull that out there for us with the costing. At the back of the application, towards the last page, there's a declaration that you must sign, and we ask persons to take this very seriously. It states there when you sign that you declare that the information provided in this application is factual and that the funds provided to yourself will be used exclusively for restoring productive assets damaged by Hurricane Maria. You will agree to keep all receipts for assets acquired and make them available upon request. This is a very serious, this is a binding agreement between yourselves and the ministry that the World Bank would be auditing and visiting. Then they would request of you your registered business name. So what name is it that you have for your business? Your address for your business, the average monthly income, the number of employees, and the average monthly sales. Sort of a cross-examination, isn't it? From some of the questions you were asking a little earlier. Bear that in mind. And then for office use, we've got the documentation submitted with application. We'll say yes, no. There are other notes that will be there, and whether the application is recommended. And then the dates, post-financing, field visits. So after you have received the assistance, there's going to be persons from the Ministry of Commerce and more than likely persons from the World Bank when they would come in for us. We'll first go to do the verification that yes, the business is there. Then the World Bank people more than likely will come at some point to do their monitoring and evaluation as well as the economic impact assessments. Number of businesses that have started, persons that are now employed, persons that are now able to sell raw materials, or even some persons getting back into exporting. So for example, economic impact would be for the seamstresses, the number of school children that now have uniforms available for purchase. Okay, the number of seamstresses that have uniforms, school uniforms, white blouses, khaki pants, and the other uniforms that are out there. Those are the persons that have been able to get back on their feet to make those uniforms. So some of those, that will be an example of the economic impact. These people are back at work, and then there is that integration of activities, raw materials are being supplied, being sourced, and those sort of things are happening. Now, in the approval process, well, before I speak about the approval process, there was something that I just need to make mention of on the eligibility criteria. Special attention, as PS indicated, will be given to gender, disability, and regional representation, including ensuring that small and micro enterprises owners from the Kalinago territory are aware of the program. So persons from the Kalinago territory must form part in the application. Okay, it was just, I suspect, and there's a slight omission in disseminating the information a little earlier. So persons from the Kalinago territory, you are not left out, you are included, and the information will be sent to your village council, and our staff will be there at the village council assisting persons in ensuring they meet the requirements and to assist in the filling out of these forms. Because based on what I just highlighted to persons in the application form, there are some critical questions that are there, and in the analysis. Now that application form, as I'm highlighting in there, will form part of the database for the World Bank, and that the inputting of the data is going to be going on a continuous basis. And then when you have your reports that you extract from the database, you would see the parish, the number of persons that are applying, you would see the gender, male, female. You would also get the idea that we have the date of birth. You would have the age range from the youngest person to the oldest person that's applying to want to get back into business. You would have an appreciation of that. You would know the number of persons that have already a DSS ID, those with a driver's license, those with a passport. I hope we don't get anybody without any one of those, because this is a critical requirement, and that will show us where the gaps are. Okay, as likewise the parish, the number of persons with a cell phone, as well as we have a requirement for email address, the number of persons with email addresses and whatever gaps there are, so that at some point, even us at the Ministry of Commerce could assist persons. If you have a cell phone, but you don't have an email address, that would probably be one of our technical assistants where you would assist persons in developing or creating a Gmail account for themselves. The ownership structure, it will give us an appreciation of the number of persons that are sole traders, the number of persons that are in partnership, the number of persons that have gone ahead and incorporated their business to form companies, as well as the number of persons or the number of businesses that are with the forms of cooperatives. We would see the number of existing businesses that have applied, the number of new business, and new business is really businesses, in our judgment here, under 1 year. But you would have had to be in operation during Hurricane Maria, or just before Hurricane Maria. And of course, the date of the business was opened. From that information, we would get to know the youngest business as well as the oldest business. And if you're a business that is over 10 years and you're still a micro business, it gives us now the opportunity, from that information to start addressing those persons that we need to get them to step up, scale up their operation, at least become a small business and start. And especially if you're not into any form of export or you have challenges with labeling and packaging and that sort of thing, it gives us that clear insight as to the number of these people, okay? Because that World Bank program, once we implement it successfully, it gives us an opportunity at the ministry to apply to the World Bank again based on the technical assistance from the gaps, that particular application and the database, the information it would give us to say, well, we need some information, we need some technical assistance to help with packaging, to help with labeling, to help with marketing, okay? Your tax number, it's very, very important. The personal and the business, it gives us an opportunity as to the number of people with their personal income tax numbers, the number of their business income tax numbers. Why? Your activities will then be captured by the Central Statistics Office so that the inclusion in your GDP, okay, all the goods and services that will be produced in 1 year in the country can be captured. Likewise for the DSS, it will help us to know for sure, okay, get a better appreciation of the number of persons that are employed in business. Now is this a guesstimate that statistics have to make, because the micro and small business sector is generally classified as an informal sector. But because of the institutional strengthening that we're receiving from the World Bank is saying to us that, listen guys, you actually have a gold mine with all these people, because it was discovered we have over 10,000. micro, small businesses on island. Many of those businesses operate from home. But imagine if you're in the business, the service business. You have your computer, you have a video conference, software facility. You can generate income. But if you're not captured in there, persons might think, well, you are unemployed. Okay? So it gives us, and then the database will give us the number of persons in retail, trade and services, food and beverage, and that sort of thing. Okay, so that is the kind of breakdown, the feedback. So once you are able to give us that information in the detailed way that it is requested of you, that information not only helps you to get the funding that the PS talked about, but it gives us the additional work that we must do to strengthen based on the gaps we would have identified from that information. Thank you much.